Philippe as well for the use of the facility and to be able to open up our first Orange County event here. We look forward to doing more. So thank you to them. Thank you to everybody showing up. G-Tech, like mentioned, Red, James from Red, and also Manfrotto as well. Jason is here from G-Tech. He's been a big part of this as well with all the products in the diner there. But then also Jesse, if you get a chance to see him, Jesse is somewhere around here. He's here to talk about the G-Rack, which is back in the editing bay, which is down the hall. Some great stuff that they have with their shared storage and with their NAS that they're doing with the whole workflow piece of it. So if you have any questions, feel free to talk to Jason. He'd be glad to talk to you about any of their storage, even their new SSDs and some stuff coming out that they're going to announce at NAB as well. So. First speaker that we have up, again, thank you everyone for coming. We're looking forward to doing more of these. First one we have up is Scott Martin. He is head of production for Princess Cruises and handles all of their fleets, I believe, right, for Holland America and everybody else. So he's going to talk about his workflow, what he does, what he uses, and he has some sizzle stuff to throw together as well. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. All right, so let's just go ahead and dive into some of the video content that we actually make before we get started.
Trucking airport information, Kilo 0156, Zulu, wind 170 at 4. Weather better than 5,005, temperature 182.12, altimeter 298.0, favored runway 18, right traffic, airman's current far, mountain obscuration, pilot weather reports requested, contact Talkeetna radio, 123.6 for traffic advisories, advise on initial contact 2 hours Kilo. Mexico 9180, Talkeetna radio, flight plan activated. Roger, thank you, 180.
All right, check your seatbelts one more time, we'll be on our way.
The Alaska Range and Denali National Park specifically, to be able to share that, I think is pretty special. And simply that. You can talk about it, you can see photos of it, they don't do it justice. I mean, my photos remind me, oh, that was a fun day, I remember it. And to share that, there's just no other way to do it unless you have an airplane full of people and cameras clicking away and just that energy. It's a pretty neat experience to be able to share it.
Okay, so basically what we do is we tell stories in about 500 ports around the world, and judging by that video, that is a lot of fun. Designing the workflow for that 500 ports, I gotta admit, is not very fun, and that's really what we're here to talk about today.
It looks as if you're reorganizing your records with chronological, not alphabetical.
Nope.
What?
Autobiographical.
No fucking way.
Yep. I can tell you how I got from Deep Purple to Howlin' Wolf in just 25 moves. And I want to find the song Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. I have to remember that I bought it for someone in the fall of 1983, Kyle, but didn't give it to them for personal reasons.
That sounds
Comforting.
yeah.
One thing I love about that is you don't want to organize your record collection during a mental breakdown, and you don't want to make workflow decisions during production. This is what I write on my whiteboard every single day, because every single failure that you can have in production from a workflow perspective, I've had it over 10 years. So for us, you know, I showed you guys at the beginning, those are our destination projects. That's really all we focus on. We don't do anything on ships primarily. Everything is go to the destination, film it, and get out. And for us, the key to those destination projects is to complete our entire workflow prior to production. So this is what a project workflow looks like for us, pretty standard to most people in the industry, but the key is really to have this workflow piece and the media asset management piece at the beginning. For me, my damn education probably started about 5 years ago, and now it's turned into how do I maximize the ROI for a project? And number one, steal from the best. These are some of the resources that I use. Michael from Panavision, Adam from SNL, a couple of huge industry players. What I can tell you today is that every original idea that I'm giving you is stolen from the best in the industry. It's really getting this information from who I believe is leading the charge. So time for tech. So when I started this 5 years ago, I had a bunch of people coming at me with NAS, XAN, storage, networking, digital asset management, content management system. To me, guys, that's like 1.21 gigawatts. I don't understand what any of that stuff means. I'm a story guy, I'm a camera guy. And what did I need? I needed a simple workflow. Our team has enough problems as it is trying to get that shot in Denali National Park on a clear day. Sometimes that takes years. So we didn't want a workflow that caused us problems. Number two, I want to focus on story and characters, not technology. I don't want to talk to networking guys and storage guys all the time. I want to make stories. So really, what are our requirements for us? And I think this is the questions you got to ask yourself is, how do we keep our stories safe? And for us at HQ, we're going to need some storage and backup. Number two, how do we transport those assets all over the world? And that really becomes very key for us because we have to be fast and we have to be light. Requirement number three, how do we edit in production? Because we like to cut right after we shoot. How do we edit remotely? And how do we do it in our office? And then the main requirement for me, how do we design a system so I'm doing this all the time? Because I don't want to be sitting in front of computers and dealing with storage. I want to be out there shooting. So here we go. When we started this project, we were looking for three things. Storage at HQ and backup connected to probably 2 editing systems, a field storage system with backup, and a remote storage system with backup. And this was kind of our first question. What type of speed do we need? What type of capacity do we need? And what type of size? And all of those things for me go hand in hand. You're always kind of pushing those things back and forth. So for us, it was we need high capacity and speed at HQ and remote in the field. We couldn't give either one of those things up. We need searchable keywords for every asset. That was part of the media asset management strategy. And our field drives have to be small and they have to be lightweight. Because this is what we look like when we travel. And this is what we're trying to avoid. When we get to that check-in desk and we have these people being like, how many bags are you checking in? Like, we're literally trying to cut every pound out of what we travel with. And those hard drives are a big part of it. And at the end of the day, it's like, how many terabytes can I fit in that case? That's why I'm always on Jason, make it smaller, make it smaller, make it smaller. And then the other question you got to ask yourself is, how are you future-proofing that media investment? For us, we couldn't shoot ultra-high def until we had that post infrastructure to support it. We have it now we can shoot it. And then I think this is the most important for me is like, who are you going to collaborate with? Because like in our world, when I started, like we have a 3-man team. So I've got my man Charles kind of at media asset management and delivery. Our producer Jesse's kind of running development and pre-pro, and I'm more in the production and post. But to be honest, we didn't have the experience we needed to do this. We needed to go find that team. We had to find an external team to work with. As I said in 2016, 1 person on staff. So the first person I had to find is some storage and network specialists to really help me. And then we started building out our staff now in 2018. And then our fourth question was, how are you going to manage that price per frame? Here's the overall definition. And basically for me, price per frame is everything that happens when you go capture it and bring it back. And that includes time, frustration, sleep, all of those things. And going back to the records, we got to stay organized. An asset has no value if you can't find it. And also, if you're looking for an asset when you broke up with your girlfriend, other editors can't find that stuff. So for us and our destination assets, this is what it looks like for probably the last 5 or 6 years. On all of our files, we're going to have at least these little bits of information: city, country, subject, description, op, date. And then this is really what our workflow is and what we're talking about today. So if you see here, you can see at the top, this is kind of like where we're prepping. And then we move over kind of down the chain. We go into production, into post, all the way down here, got some remote editing, then down to distribution, and then finally the archive. So let's start at the top up here. In prep, we always kind of have a workflow meeting, I guess at the beginning, with our post specialists, contractors, and producers. Then we go into what is our field storage, which are the little 2 terabyte, for lack of better words, badass hard drives that are literally this big. They're so small and they're so fast. So we label all those. Then we get into production. We're doing our capture with all of our cameras, our field ingest with our MacBook, and then we move down. So you see our field storage goes into our field backup and then our field transfer drive, and then you can see how they move around the world, planes, buses, whatever. And then most importantly, when we get into our ingest here, we're using a full G-Rack system. So at the beginning of our workflow, it's all G-Tech. In the middle of our workflow, it's all G-Tech. And then when I go out and work remotely, we've got shuttles out here as well that I can use, because basically I can fit one shuttle in a Pelican 1510 or a 35, and that's key for me as well, so I can make a big move with 80 terabytes or whatever it is that I need. So you can see kind of this is our HQ storage with some editors working, and then as you move down the pipeline, we move into kind of review and approve, and then we export and archive that. But basically, we're GTech end to end. And it's pretty simple, because right now I can fit 494 terabytes in that Pelican Air with 274 of those 2 terabyte drives. And that is huge, because even a year ago I was only putting 80 terabytes in a shuttle. And that's huge for us to have that much space. And at the end of the day, guys, to me it's all about simplicity. All I want to do is go shoot, all I want to do is edit, and at the end of the day, GTech makes all that simple for me. So that's kind of our workflow in a nutshell. Any questions?
Come on, he's open to question, guys.
Scott, what caused you to make the bridge? Because one of the things, you had the shuttles, right? And then you immediately said, okay, look, this is how much I can fit into a Pelican case now. Like, what caused you to make that transition?
Well, like I said at the beginning, it's all about speed, capacity, and size. You know, so like for me, size is the actual size of the drive. What can I fit in a case and travel with it? But then at the end of the day, it's like when you're plugging it in, like with those shuttles, you're getting 1,500 megabytes at the end of the night. And when we're shooting drone footage for 10, 12, 13 hours a day, and we got to come back and offload that footage, that 1,500 megabytes is huge. It's huge. And that's why right now when we're going to be using those SSDs, the 2 terabytes, you're talking about a form factor like this, like that, and I'm still getting 500 megabits a second. That's what's going to keep my guys happy at the end of the night, because they're not staying up all night doing DIT work, and then we're getting up to shoot the next sunrise at 4 in the morning. It's the biggest backlog in our production. We can shoot all day long, but no matter what you do, you still have to come back and offload that footage. So speed, size, and capacity.
And I'll tell you guys here, well, I can't tell you here, but come to NAB. If you're going to NAB, there's things that is going to make him really, really happy. And since there's guys shooting on camera, I definitely can't say it here, but you'll be excited to see some things that are coming out where it'll limit the transfer times big time.
Was it like 272 2 gigs in that little?
270. My guy Charles right here. This is our post specialist.
Right there?
1510.
Yeah, he measured it out, and he said 200. Charles, I had him measure it out, and I was like, how many can we fit in there? And he was like 274.
Okay, so these
Yeah.
are
That phone?
Those right there.
Yeah, so that's it. It's a lot smaller than that box.
I should have Steve Jobs'd it and like pulled it out of my pocket. That was the plan, but I didn't. I should have grabbed the one from over
You
there.
should have. Somebody did.
Yeah, but it's tiny. I mean, it's almost like this. Where is like the really thing?
I was gonna ask you.
Because that's big. I mean, the changes have happened like slowly. You get like 1 terabyte is like this, and then 1 terabyte is like here
Jay,
you
you
go.
want to show
And
that?
Boom.
that's the SSD.
This is the SSD, right?
So in that footprint, there's 2 terabytes, 560 megabytes a second transfer speed over USB-C.
Rich.
So it'll saturate
wanna
your
show 'em
USB
this?
3 bus.
Yeah, in his language, in my language, badass.
Yes.
Yeah, here you go.
Give me that.
So-
And what sold you on GTech?
Simplicity. It's all about
That was film
simplicity.
tools, right?
Yeah, it's
Good.
all about simplicity. I mean, guys, when I started this, I was meeting so many network people and so many storage people and so many gigawatt people, and I was telling them all the same thing. I was like, I need this to be simple, and nobody made it simple until I walked on the floor and I started talking to these guys about G-Rack. And literally, I'd been looking for about a year at that point. When G-Rack came out, I remember it was like the Saturday after NAB, I was at a wedding and talking to these guys, being like, let's install this now. Because then it was end-to-end G-Rack for me, and that's what it was about, you know?
I think in Scott's situation too, he's in a very big corporation type environment. So it was a difficult thing for them to say, okay, look, what is workflow? What is production? What is video? And well, how does that sit on our storage and stuff? And they wanted to bring all that in on their own servers, all the stuff that they already had in-house on IT. So it was a big, long discussion to get this in there. So now they're a separate island within their industry or within their building for all of their own workflow.
Yeah, I mean, we run we're in this big corporation, but we run our department like a startup. It's really like a startup, and that's kind of how we built all of it, is having this really streamlined workflow. Because when I went to our quote-unquote corporate IT guys, and I was like, hey guys, you know, nice to meet you. I'm Scott Martin. I'm the video guy. They're like, all right, whatever. We hate our jobs. I'm like, okay, cool. I need about 700 terabytes. And the guy, the senior director of IT, is like, that's more terabytes than the entire company has. You'll never get it. And like 2 or 3 years later, we have it. Because essentially I had to go all the way to the senior vice president of our IT and explain to him that everybody in his department has no idea when it comes to media assets. I told him, I was like, look, there's 2 types of IT. In this company, you guys understand data very well. You're data-driven IT people. The problem is, we're talking about media assets. And like in the corporate world, vocabulary sometimes is so stupid, but like if you talk about inventory and media assets, that's like what gets the executives' ears perking up. And then that's what gets them to, you know, give you the checkbook to pay for this stuff.
Yeah, I think now they're seeing the power because now they're coming to you and to Charles because of all the marketing now that you guys can do with all of the assets that you guys have.
Because I mean, it's such a big company, so everybody's like, we need all these assets, you know, and it's basically, you know, this huge company's got external hard drives everywhere, and all we did was say, let's put in this excellent black box for storage, for lack of better words, and then I essentially hired Charles, who's 10 times smarter than me in this arena, to basically sit there and manage that system for me. And he's been on it for a year. I mean, do you have anything bad to say about it? Besides Ken has to fix our switch?
Yeah. It's a fantastic system. It's very, very simple. The user interface is really easy. If you're not an IT person, don't worry about it. You can easily figure this out. They can help walk you through what you need to do to set up the server, connect it to your network, connect it to your computers, figure out how to work your laptops into it, your workstations, be it Mac, be it Windows, whatever. I'm really impressed by it.
Because we have millions of dollars of resources in IT that could never help me, even with these big companies.
They've got a lot of Dell servers. Guys.
This
This
is my IT department right here for like 700 terabytes or whatever we have now. It's insane. And it's just like, he's the guy I call. Like, Charles, why isn't it working? And if it's not working, we call these guys.
Guys, and pick Scott's brain because what his job was, so he was employee number 1 on the video team. His job was to go and show ROI to the executives of a massive company of why they need to produce more content, make it available, and do things in that way. So providing that ROI to his executives. So pick his brain. If you guys are in corporate video, if you're in anything and you're having challenges or getting budget to do things like this, talk to him about what he did because the guy, I mean, he might not toot his own horn too much, but he's just amazing at what he's done and how he's developed this little kind of own pilot little industry within a massive corporation. So, pick his brain.
Gotta find out how to get the money. That's the hardest part. The gigawatts, you'll figure that out. All the technical stuff. There's so many super smart technical people you can bring in. For me, the hardest part was getting the money.
And just to give these guys an example, like, what was your initial budget, and what have you spent to date in 2 years or 2.5 years at?
I mean, we're probably. It's kind of embarrassing, I think. What have we spent in storage?
What was your? I mean, overall, what was your first budget?
Oh,
like,
zero.
You're employee number 1. You're
Zero.
What was your first camera? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
give them an
guys,
example.
it's cool for me now to be like, oh, we're shooting on Aries, we got all this G-Rack storage. I mean, 5-6 years ago, I was shooting on a 5D Mark II and, putting it to a USB drive, because that's all I had, So we started from absolute scratch and basically just convinced the company over and over and over again with these assets that we said to them, like, look, you don't just shoot this asset and use it once. You shoot this asset, you store it, and you use it over and over and over again. And then once they really started to understand that like our video pieces were not just video, they were truly assets that they could make money on over and over and over again, that changed the entire situation. Because now, if I was pushing a rock uphill for 5-6 years with the corporation trying to get IT people and my own bosses to understand, now it's just a rock rolling downhill. Because all they're saying is like, how do we do more? How do we scale it? How can you do this faster? Because they understand it. So it is about, at the end of the day, it's about educating your clients or your bosses or whoever it is that's going to eventually, write that check,
And this system is very scalable. We've already upgraded once, and we'll probably upgrade a few more times in the next few years, particularly shooting 4K or 6K or something like that. You're going to need huge space depending on how much you shoot. I mean, if you're shooting 12 hours a day drone footage or 6 hours a day of VR footage where your plates are like 12K or 18K, you're going to chew through storage fast. But the G-Rack it's so solid and so expandable.
So what they did is they started with 120 terabyte head unit and had 2 expansions on that. They added another expansion, so in one array they had 480, and then they just recently got another 144 terabyte head unit with another 144 terabyte expansion behind that. So it's easily able to add more expansions and build out your volumes too.
Yeah.
And if you guys get a chance, so Tori actually has a head unit installed,
Correct.
48 terabytes, so we're expecting more POs soon, Tori. But he's got
He keeps
48
running away.
terabytes over in the other room that him and his team work off of right now.
I think that's what makes the G-Rex so powerful is you've got a room in there with 3 or 4 guys that are hammering it all the time, but you can also scale up to a large scale editing system and having 5, 10, 20 people on it at the same time too. So it's very scalable. You can start at 48 terabytes and work your way up to 144 terabytes on those too. So.
Yeah. Then the only issue is making sure you have some sort of program to manage your media. Not just, I mean, Scott did a fantastic job with,
Yeah, we
with
did talk about
labeling,
Cat TV.
you know, labeling everything, but you know, you also have to have some other storage missions rather than like the girlfriend I broke up with.
Yeah, that's why I put the
it's
record
just-
thing in there, because for us, it's
Yeah.
like, that's what it's like. There's just so many assets, you know, and to create that video, you gotta be able to find it.
But you not only have like countries and you have like ports and then you have like
Yeah.
fleets and you have like it's very granular on your end.
There's 5 brands. Each brand has 5 to 14 different ships. They go on itineraries anywhere from 5 ports to the world trips. What they like 28 ports.
Like,
Yeah,
here's a
it's
good
crazy.
example. Is like tomorrow when I get back to my desk, I want to go there and I want to find a bear shot that I shot in 2014. It was sunny and it was a Tuesday and it was at mile 62 Denali National Park. That's what I want to know, and I want to be able to plug that into a system, and that's what we're working on now. Is like the next piece of that, the Cat DV piece that does say like, okay, sunset, okay, mile 92, Denali National Park, and a bear missing one eyeball or something. You know, just like super detailed and fast. Yeah. So.
Good. Thank you very much. We're gonna raffle off some more stuff.